If you've ever come home from a long day around people, even people you love, and felt completely empty inside, like something got taken from you, and you just need everyone to leave you alone for a while. This video is going to explain something about you that nobody ever has. Because most people who feel this way think something is wrong with them. They think they're antisocial, or cold, or broken. But the truth is, needing time alone to reset isn't a flaw. It's actually one of the most psychologically fascinating things a human being can experience. And once you understand what's really going on inside your brain when this happens, you're never going to feel guilty about it again. Let's talk about it. You know that feeling when you've been around people all day at work, at school, at a family event? It doesn't matter. And by the time you get home, you feel like a phone that's been running on 0% battery for 3 hours? Like you're still functioning, but barely. You smile, you respond, you show up, but inside, you're running on fumes. And the weird part, it doesn't even have to be a bad day. You could have had a perfectly fine day. Good conversations, no drama, nothing went wrong, but you still come home feeling completely drained. And the only thing in the world you want is to be alone. Not doing anything specific, just alone. Maybe going for a walk by yourself, maybe just lying in your room staring at the ceiling. And if someone interrupts that, if someone calls you, or knocks on your door, or asks you a question during that time, you feel something that almost feels like frustration, like they took something from you. Sound familiar? Here's the thing most people do with this feeling. They feel guilty about it. They think, why do I need to be away from the people I love just to feel okay? What does that say about me? And then they either push through and never take that alone time they need and end up feeling resentful and exhausted all the time, or they take the time, but spend the whole time feeling bad about taking it, and neither of those things helps. Neither of those things actually fixes anything. So let's talk about why this happens in the first place. Psychologists have a name for this. It's called emotional or social exhaustion, and it's not just about being tired. It's a completely different thing from physical tiredness. You could sleep for 8 hours and still wake up feeling like you need 3 hours alone before you can handle talking to anyone. Here's why. When you're around other people, your brain is doing a lot of work that you're not even aware of. You're reading their facial expressions. You're picking up on their emotional state. You're adjusting your own behavior based on what you think they need from you. You're managing what you say and how you say it. Even in casual conversations, even with people you're totally comfortable with. Your brain is constantly processing social information and self-regulating. And for some people, this process takes a lot more energy than it does for others. Psychologists have found that people differ significantly in what's called sensory processing sensitivity, basically. How deeply your brain processes what's happening around you. Highly sensitive people don't just hear what someone says. They feel it. They notice the tone, the hesitation, the thing that wasn't said. They absorb the emotional weight of a room without even trying to. And this isn't a choice. It's literally how their nervous system works. Studies have shown that in people with high sensory processing sensitivity, the areas of the brain associated with empathy, and emotional processing are more active than in people who don't have this trait, which means more data coming in, more processing happening, more energy being used just to exist in a social environment. So when you need to be alone after spending time around people, what you're really doing is giving your nervous system time to process everything it took in. You're not rejecting anyone. You're not being antisocial. You're literally recovering. And here's something that goes even deeper than that. A lot of people who feel this way grew up in environments where they didn't have much control over their own emotional space. Maybe there was always noise, always chaos, always someone needing something from them. Maybe they had to be very aware of the moods of the people around them, a parent who was unpredictable, a household that felt tense. When you grow up like that, your nervous system learns to stay on high alert in social situations. It learns that being around people means being switched on, watching, managing. And that pattern doesn't just go away when you grow up. Your brain still runs the same program. Even in safe, normal situations, it's still doing the work it learned to do when the stakes were higher. This is actually where it gets really interesting. Because there's a specific moment that happens for people like this, a moment where all of that social performance builds up to a point where the brain basically sends a signal. I need to stop. I need to process. I need to be alone. And if you ignore that signal long enough, it stops being about feeling a little drained. It becomes anxiety, irritability, shutting down completely. Your brain isn't asking, it's telling you. There's a concept in psychology called identity restoration. The idea is that after extended periods of social interaction, people who are highly sensitive or deeply introspective can lose a sense of their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own internal voice, because they've spent so much time tuned into everyone else. Alone time isn't just about rest. It's about finding yourself again, getting back in touch with what you actually think, what you actually feel, separate from everyone around you. This is why people who need alone time often describe it as feeling like myself again after they get it, because that's literally what's happening. They're reconnecting with their own inner world, which got a bit buried under all the noise of being around others. And the research actually supports this. Studies on introversion and emotional regulation have found that people who score high on measures of introversion or sensitivity tend to have stronger internal processing, richer inner worlds, more complex self-reflection. And all of that inner work requires quiet, it requires space, it requires nobody talking to you for a while. It's not that you don't like people, it's that your relationship with your own inner world is just as important to you as your relationships with others, maybe more important, and you need time to maintain it. So what do you do with this? Because understanding it is one thing, but you still have to live in a world with other people who don't always understand why you disappear. Sometimes, here's what actually helps. The first thing is to stop treating alone time like something you have to earn or justify. A lot of people who need this feel like they have to reach a certain level of exhaustion before they're allowed to take time for themselves. Like the need has to be extreme before it's valid. But your nervous system doesn't work on a reward system. It needs what it needs. Start treating alone time the same way you treat sleep. Not as a luxury, but as something your brain requires to function. Second, learn to recognize your early signals. By the time most people realize, they're completely drained. They're already past the point where a little alone time would have helped. But your brain gives you earlier signals than that. You might notice that you start responding with shorter answers, or that sounds start feeling louder and more irritating, or that you start craving physical space, stepping back from people slightly. Learn your signals. When you notice them, that's when you take the time, not after you've hit the wall. Third, be honest with the people in your life without You don't owe anyone a detailed psychology lesson. You don't have to justify your needs. But a simple, honest, I need some time to myself right now. It's not about you does a lot of work. Most people who care about you will understand. And the ones who make you feel guilty for having this need, that's worth paying attention to. 2. And fourth, this is probably the most important one. Stop trying to change this about yourself. A lot of people who feel this way have spent years trying to become someone who doesn't need alone time, trying to push past it, push through it, train themselves out of it, and it doesn't work. Not because they're weak, but because this is how their brain is wired. The goal isn't to need less alone time. The goal is to stop fighting it and start working with it. When you stop seeing this as a problem to fix and start seeing it as a feature of how you work, something shifts. You stop feeling like there's something wrong with you. You start making choices that actually support how your brain operates. And you end up feeling a lot more okay. Not because you changed, but because you finally stopped trying to. You're not antisocial. You're not broken. You're just someone whose inner world needs tending. And there's nothing wrong with that. If this felt like it was written about you, subscribe. There's a lot more like this coming.